Hi there. Good evening. Good evening is Dr. Croom, and I hope that I'm out and about. Well, you know, I'm a mobile vet, so I'm out and about, and hopefully, my stream will come through with a minimum of problems and no skipping or anything like that. I hope that that's all smooth. So, welcome, everyone. I'm going to go over to my Facebook page so that I can make sure that everything is legit. Boom, too legit to quit. All right, so let me go to my personal page. Bam. So that I can see if you guys put in any questions or comments in the chat. All right, boom, here we go. So, welcome, you guys. It's the Senior Pet Chat with me, your host, Dr. Croom, Army Vets. And you know that around here we are a uh, holistic leaning service. And although we do use traditional medicine too, here at our veterinary clinic, we do focus on the holistic side of things, which is why people come to us. They come to us when they want to maybe they've been trying a traditional medications and now they want to try to wean their pet off of certain things holistically, and that is exactly one of the things that I excel at. So someone may come to me and say, my dog is just extremely anxious, and our other vet uh put him on trazodone, and it works okay, but he's just not himself. And that's where I come in, bam, and I show them many different options so that they can get their pet off of those pharmaceuticals if possible. So tonight we are going to talk about a certain topic that does come up pretty often for my senior pet parents. Now, if you are watching this chat, even if you're on the replay, put a hashtag replay in the chat, and also put the name of your senior pet's name and age. And if you have more than one, definitely put them in there. And I'm going to call them out, give them a shout out tonight. Shout outs to senior pets tonight. Yes. All right. So let me go ahead and get going so that you can know what topic for tonight. Tonight we are talking about senior pets and medications that often are used, especially during the spring and summer, but sometimes pet owners slack off on them during the winter time because winter time, especially here in Michigan, so it's different across the country. I know that in the warmer areas, California down south, their dogs specifically are going to be on heartworm and flea and tick, I'm sure, year round, whereas here in Michigan, where, it gets a little colder and people want to save a little bit of money, we know my recommendation is that we be very careful with that because it is starting to get warmer overall. If you believe in global warming or not, it's happening. We know that the winter is starting to get more temperate. As a matter of fact, when Vet Tech Tony and I go out together, we sometimes see in the dead of winter, we'll see some mosquitoes, or some of the pet will come in with a tick. And you're like, what? How does that happen? It's like, 23 degrees, right? I'll tell you how it happens. Outside, when the snow falls, there are little pockets of space, even under the snow, where leaves are, and they create a bubble of warmth for the fleas and ticks and other bugs. This is how they stick around in the wintertime. This is one of the reasons why oftentimes I do suggest that my pet parents have their pet on, flea and tick and heartworm throughout the wintertime. So keep that in mind as you're working with your vet, or if you're coming to us. That's one of the things that we would discuss. With senior pets now, we know that specifically with flea and tick, right? Let's talk about flea and tick first, and then we'll talk about heartworm in a minute. Senior pets and flea and tick. Just like with the younger animals, you're careful with squeezing on the flea and tick meds, right? With the older animals, you also want to be very careful squeezing that stuff on them, because we know that if you're squeezing it on, right, it's got to absorb. That's the whole point. It's got to absorb, and it's going to go through their system. And it's just, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about the squeeze on kind, because I know there are a lot of people out there that use them. So I'm not here to, throw any type of shade on people who go and get the squeeze on flea and tick over the counter or something like that. And even in the pharmaceutical side, there's squeeze on kinds that are, veterinarians prescribe. So this is not a thing, but it's just something to think about if you have a senior pet. Again, senior pet chat, right? So, I mean, if you got a younger, healthy dog and you've been doing flea and tick and no problems with the squeeze on kind, no problem. I'm not saying that you need to change that, because really any flea and tick, whether it's a chewable or whether it's a topical, we know it's got, right, toxins, because the toxins are there to kill the bugs. And if bugs, we know bugs are so hardy, right? Like if the world just blew up right now, what would come out of the ashes? Cockroaches, but and the other bugs, fleas, ticks, they would, bust out, and they just like, all they need is two, and then with the next day there's going to be 20,000 of them. So, the bugs, they are very hardy. So to say that we're putting a flea and tick medication on our senior pet, we know that it could potentially be deleterious to them, harmful to them. I do have a lot of senior pets that do just fine with their flea and tick medication, squeezed on or chewables. They're fine. So again, this is not a warning like like an emergency or anything like that, but it is just something to keep in mind if you are the owner of a senior pet. Okay, so flea and tick meds for cats and dogs. My recommendation, I go the direction of chewable kind more so. And for the cats, though, that's not really an option. So that's something else to think about. A lot of times cats do get the squeeze on kind. And, if they're outside, it's probably okay, because we want to get that extra protection for them against those other bugs as well. So, flea and tick, I've got Mayo here. Come here, Mayo. Come here. Well, you can see her right here, I think. Oh, you put your paw on me, girl. You put your paw on me. So I've used the squeeze on kind for Mayo before too. So again, either one, depending on what you like, but just be very careful and aware that, all of these things have toxins inside, because they're meant to kill those bugs. So therefore they're going to be in your pet's system, and you want to be very careful. But throughout the winter, you may want to think about keeping your pet on throughout the winter, because our winters are getting much more warm and those bugs are sticking around. If you're around water, you already know mosquitoes love that. So make sure there's no standing water in your yards or, anything like that where they can just proliferate. And then you should be good to go. If you need flea and tick medication, and maybe that's all you need, but you want a prescription, you absolutely can come to us and do a virtual visit. You don't even need a home visit. It can be a virtual visit, and then you can get the prescription. So if you need me, you know that you can go to drcroom.com to schedule yourself. Okay. Now let's talk about the other half of what we're mentioning here, which is senior pets and oops. You're like, wait a minute, we just said that. Senior pets and heartworm prevention. Okay. We talked about it a little a moment ago, but we want to focus on this for a minute because heartworms can be deadly. And a lot of people don't necessarily know what heartworms are, or they may mistake them for the worms that are intestinal. which usually we give dewormer for, like an oral dewormer, right? Give it to the puppies. You give it to, any animal that has intestinal worms like roundworms and tapeworms. But for heartworms, who knows? Put in the chat if you could. Who knows what the vector is for heartworms? Who knows? Put that in the chat. I see a couple eyes here. I want to see some action here in this here chat. Who knows what kind of animal, what kind of vector spreads heartworm to, say, your dog? Oh my gosh, my family and I, the Croom family, we used to watch Jeopardy every night. It used to be Wheel of Fortune and then Jeopardy. And it's like, oh, it's just like brings back good memories. But anyway, I don't see anything in the chat. I see a couple eyes. Oh, maybe one of the eyes is mine because I'm looking on my phone. So maybe there's one eye. Put in the chat if you know what animal, what vector spreads heartworms. And again, heartworm prevention is something that a lot of pet owners do cease during wintertime because this vector is often, less. We think of it as less during wintertime. I'll go ahead and tell you, since I don't see anything in the chat here, heartworm is spread by mosquitoes. Mosquitoes. All right. No one won the prize tonight. That's okay. Heartworm is spread by mosquitoes. So we know mosquitoes are everywhere. And like I said before, the mosquitoes are starting to stick around more in the wintertime. If a mosquito has bitten a dog with heartworm, and then they come and bite your dog who does not have heartworm, that's how it exchanges. And then the whole process of the worms and the larvae traveling to your pet's heart throughout the lungs, the cough. That's why they have that traditional coughing when dogs are heartworm positive. And cats can have heartworms as well. So they usually just have like one or two, and even that amount can potentially kill them. So heartworm prevention, I just want to say, because occasionally I will hear, not my clients, of course, but some pet owners will say, oh, heartworm, that's just, that's what the vets use to make money. Well, no. I mean, yes, we would like to earn a living, but heartworm prevention is not how we do it. Trust, okay? That is not, we don't get enough of a return for that to be the thing. We're trying to protect your pets, and heartworm prevention is a big, big part of that, because when your animal does have heartworm, whether they're young or whether they're a senior pet, it's going to wreak havoc on their body. I don't know if you've ever seen the treatment for heartworms. There's a couple of different kinds, but there's one where you got to inject in the musculature of the back like every day for 3 days. And it's just this whole rigmarole, and it's expensive. So you definitely want to prevent heartworm. So if your dog is not on heartworm prevention, I recommend that you do. Okay. Being a holistic vet, I love to give alternatives for things that are maybe more harsh on the pet. But with heartworm prevention, there's really not anything. Yes, there are. If you search like holistic options for heartworm, you'll see things like black walnut and some other materials that could work very well. But I will say that heartworm prevention, the prescriptions, they are very safe. They've been shown to be very, very safe. And you don't have to worry about, with something like the holistic side of things, yes, you could do that, but you're taking a chance there too. I mean, we're taking a chance with everything, right? We're taking a chance if we give it to them. We're taking a chance if we don't. But this is my opportunity to jump in to you senior pet owners, and make sure you understand that those mosquitoes are around. They stick around, and they've been sticking around more and more. So be very careful. If you need heartworm prevention and your dog has not been heartworm tested recently, we do have to test for heartworm before we can give prevention. Does anybody know why? Put in the chat if you know why we have to do this heartworm test before giving heartworm prevention. I'll wait just a moment to see if anyone is going to answer my question. Who knows? Who knows why you have to do a heartworm test? Why can't we just say, like, somebody calls and says, yeah, Dr. Croom, we talk about their pet, and then I just go ahead and prescribe, Heart Guard or whatever. Why can't we do that? Does anybody know? Okay. All right. So I don't see anything in the chat yet. So I'll go ahead and explain that. Oops, wait a minute. Do we have a message over here? Okay. Okay. So we must do a heartworm test if your pet hasn't been on continuous heartworm medication, because if they do have heartworm, if they are heartworm positive, and we give prevention, the prevention is going to go into the animal system. It's going to break the worms up. It's going to break the worms up into bits, and that is just like a clot that goes through the system now. Now all these little pieces are going into the lungs, they're coughing, they're moving around, and your animal could very well not survive that. Let me look into the chat. Somebody wrote something. Hi, Sue. Harmful if not needed. Yeah, I mean, if you live in a place where there are no mosquitoes, you definitely wouldn't, have to give prevention, I think, if that's what you're saying. But I would say mosquitoes are so ubiquitous that, they're pretty much everywhere. Thank you, Sue. Great to see you here tonight as well. I see a comment over here. Hi, Robert. Let's see. Is the treatment taxing? Okay. Yes. Yes, it is. It's like, from everything that I've seen, it takes them down. Like, but I mean, the heartworm can take them down too. But this medication, like I said, there's more than one way to do this. I think one is more like within like a 3-day period where you're doing the injections in the body, and then there's another way that I'm not totally sure about right now. But yeah, it is taxing on the body. That's a great question, Robert. Again, that's why it's so important with senior pets to discuss, with your vet, if we think that the animal might be too frail for certain things. You definitely want to be sure of that. Hi, Julia. How you doing tonight? Great to see you, ma'am. Okay, Sue, you said house cats. Yeah, for house cats, I probably would not do heartworm prevention necessarily, unless you were in a place near a lot of woodsy or water, right? Very woodsy or water, and your windows are typically open, things like that, then maybe. But house cats, if they're totally inside, then, and you feel like they're good, then that's the decision for you to make. So I definitely wouldn't say don't do it. But I mean, I don't do heartworm prevention really for cats anyway. I mean, a lot of them don't get that. They just mostly do flea and tick. So if you have any questions at all about your senior pets, feel free to put them in the chat. It's really great to see you tonight. You can see I'm out and about doing my mobile thing. I've got my pooch with me. She's very protective. If somebody approaches, don't approach this vehicle. Okay, don't do it because she will let you know that that's not appropriate. So when I go out late at night, just myself, I take Mayo, and she's my protector when we go out. So I don't see any questions in the chat. Hopefully this was useful for you, for your senior pets. Final comment is to make sure that you talk to your vet and see if your animal is in the right position to need flea and tick or heartworm medication, and then take it from there. One other thing You already know we love senior pets. And for those senior pets that are having issues with pain, joints, nausea, lack of appetite, any of those things, you can go to my website, drcroom.com, and here's a code for you to use if you would like to purchase some of my CBD, which can be helpful for all those things that I mentioned: pain, inflammation, nausea. I have a couple of clients whose pets have had a diagnosis of cancer, and even though I would never say CBD can fight cancer, I wouldn't say that, but a lot of the symptoms that come along with cancers and tumors and masses can be helped because it's an inflammatory process. As a matter of fact, most animals who do have some cancer that just shows up quickly, they get a huge dose of steroids. It's like, whoo, steroids, which we know decreases the immune system. So hit up drcroom.com, use the senior pet code if you want to, help them out. And it's the senior pet chat with Dr. Croom. I don't see any other questions. Thank you, Robert. Hayes is 8. Is Hayes only 8 years old? Why was I thinking? I don't know why I was thinking he was a little older. And Slider is 40 plus years old. Okay, now that's serious senior right there. That's some serious senior. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. You're welcome, Sue. You're very welcome. Thank you for being here every week. I really appreciate that. And everyone who was here, thank you. Make sure you're following Dr. Croom Army Vet on all platforms. And if you are watching this on the replay, put a hashtag replay in the chat. I'd love to know that you were here. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you next Monday.